Hello everyone, welcome to Scorch Your Toys at AnyMoon.com's review of Kaiyodo's Revoltech VF1 toys. The first release in this line was Hikaru's VF1J in September 2007. The next month we got a Fokker VF1S, and then there was a VF1A Hikaru Custom from Do You Remember Love in November 2007. It would be many months until we got the Max and Miria exclusives. A Max VF1J was out in May of 2008. They followed up with a Miria in October 2008. Those two toys are exclusives. All of these toys retailed for 1,900 yen. Inside the box, you will get full strike or super parts, not both. You don't get a strike cannon if you get a super version. You get 4 little mini missile box, 5 fixed posed hands, a gun, a disc for that gun that I will show you in a second, a display stand I will also go into a little bit further, and some advertisements. Let's take a closer look at some of those accessories. You do get missile pods. Those missile pods are very small. And what they do is you just take your toy, open up a wing. There's a hard point on that wing. The missile pod has a peg, goes right in. And once it's in there, it is very secure. So that was good to see. So we'll just pop that right back off. Then you get optional hands. My Roy toy came with only left-handed grip hands. So that is quality assurance on these toys, not the best quality control. So you might get something like 2 left hands also. So here it is. There is the pistol grip hand. So now I can take my gun and just plug it right in. The other option you could do with the gun is they give you this little round peg piece. You can take the gun, remove the inner piece, replace it with this pegged piece. It's a very snug fit. Once you get it on, I'll show you a little trick to pop it back off. But so there it is now. I can take my toy. There are holes on the armors for the super parts. I can just, obviously I'm doing it kind of the wrong way there, but there you go. Just pegs right on. You can also, if you didn't have the super parts on, use the super parts hole as a pegging spot. Something like that. So you have some options there. Once you want to remove that ring, it's very, very difficult. So what I would suggest is using the piece it plugs into and then pulling out like that. So a little pro tip there. Let's get that armor back on the toy. So there you go. Those are your main accessories. You also get that display stand as you saw when we opened up the review. Let's talk about the display stand for a second. It has a very rudimentary design with just a basic base to it. The base has 2 pegs that you can use to connect the one arm here, the long arm, or the smaller arm that is included with the toy. That then bubbles up to a Revoltech joint, which acts as your adapter, which is nice because it has a lot of articulation. Obviously, you could spin it around, do whatever you want. There is a hole in the back of the toy, in the butt. And there are also holes on the feet, so if you wanted to use the base without the arm, that is a possibility for you. So there we go. Just put that back on, and there's my toy flying away. One thing to note while I've got the toy in some flying poses here, the strike gun on the Roy toy also uses a revolver joint. So you can twist the strike, which might be fun for some of the dynamic posing that you'll be doing. These toys are either super toys or strike toys. They are not both. You do not get a strike cannon. I do love the simplicity of the design. I thought Toynami went totally the wrong way there. You have a couple holes, a couple pegs, and things are just going to plug right in, nice and firm, and stay in place like you would hope they would. Backpack booster, again, hole on the side of the backpack, peg on the side of the booster. It's a tight fit. Just squeeze and push, and it'll get in there. And then you have your leg armors. Now, funny thing about the leg armors is that in fighter mode, should this toy have had one, these leg armors would have been on like this. Here's your UN Spacey. here's your upside down UN Spacey. So not consistent with that paint, so that's a little peculiar, but again, just a peg and a hole, apply pressure, and it's on there, nice and firm. None of those parts are going anywhere, and you would obviously just do the same thing on the other side. Here's a quick group shot for you to show you how small the Revoltech is in comparison to everyone else. It's 10.5 centimeters tall, which puts it much smaller than the rest of its competition. The Yamato Gnudals, which were probably their closest competition, were closer to 13 centimeters tall, just a hair below that. The Bandai High Metals and High Metal R's are closer to 14.5 centimeters, maybe a hair below that. And the Toonami 1/100 toys are right around 14 centimeters tall. With the Revoltech toy, what you're paying for is articulation. And as you can see by this guy over here, there is no lack of it with this toy. So let's go ahead and just do a quick run through. You have the head on a revolver joint, which means you can do whatever you want with the head. On mine, this laser over here is a little bit loose, but they are articulated independently as well. Then you have the joint at the shoulder, which is obviously not the most attractive joint in the world, but lets your shoulder do pretty much anything you could possibly want. Moving down to the elbow, you can see there's another ball joint there. So you can, if you didn't like the range of motion with any of these joints, you can always pull it out, and that will let you get just a little bit better range of motion. Obviously you can pull it all the way out, so you don't want to go that far with it. The fists are interchangeable, so you could spin them around, but there's no articulated hands or anything along those lines. There is a joint in the back, which is very nice to see. Moving down, you also have the waist. Moving down, you have the hips. Obviously you can flare out the wings. Then you have your hip. You also have a twist right below the hip. And you have the knee joint, which lets you come back that far. And again, you can kind of pull things apart and try to get a little bit more if you're just not quite able to get to that pose you really, really want. And then getting down to your foot, you have the ability to come forward and back again. Revoltech revolver joint, so you could also twist there as well and get some real crazy poses going on. So this thing, again, here's that loose laser I was talking about. This thing promises articulation, and it delivers in spades. Clearly these toys are made to look dynamic. They're not very good representations of the line art. So if that's really important to you, obviously you would see these giant ball joints and the very stylized look, and you probably were very turned off. They are cheap toys though. They are very highly articulated. They do feel a little bit rubbery to the touch. They're not made out of the best plastic. And they do have build quality issues, to be sure. Again, they are very cheap toys. If we look at my VF1J here, I already showed you that the head laser pops off way too easily, so that's annoying. But you could also see there's a bit of a paint issue on the front on the visor. There's a crack on that joint there. So these are definitely kind of cheap, disposable, highly articulated, a lot of fun, but definitely not for everybody. Check out my full review on anymoon.com, and as always, thanks for watching.